Welcome to this demonstration of building an event rule in Globalscape EFT. In this video, we're going to walk through what event rules are, how they work, and then build a complete workflow that triggers when a file is uploaded. We'll add conditions to validate the file, route it to the correct location based on those conditions, and finish by configuring both failure and success notifications. So what exactly do event rules do? In Globalscape EFT, event rules let you automate tasks based on activities that occur on the server. We refer to automation in EFT as sophistication and depth. This means you can do very simple things. For example, when a user uploads a file, you can notify someone. Or you can get as sophisticated as it needed. For example, EFT can automatically PGP decrypt a file, or it can virus scan it, and it can validate its contents and route it to different partners based on business rules, and then even notify your teams, all within a single automated workflow. Every event rule in EFT starts with a trigger. EFT includes multiple types of triggers, such as scheduled timer events that run on a defined schedule, like every night at midnight or every Sunday at 10. We also have folder monitor triggers, where EFT watches a folder and fires based on something that happens in that folder, such as when a file is dropped there. The folder can be a local path like C:\temp, or it can be a fully qualified UNC path. As long as the EFT service account has access, EFT can monitor it. A common example is when an internal employee drops a file into a customer folder and you want EFT to automatically pick it up and send it to that customer. We also have file uploaded and file downloaded triggers. These triggers fire when a user is connected to EFT and uploads or downloads a file. These four triggers are the most commonly used in EFT, but there are many more. EFT can trigger workflows based on server level events and even user level events, such as failed login attempts or a user exceeding their quota. Once a trigger fires, EFT executes the actions that you define, things like moving files, copying files, running scripts, sending notifications, or branching based on conditions. Event rules allow you to build reliable, repeatable automation without the need to write custom code. Now let's get started by building a new event rule. We'll create an event rule that activates when a file is uploaded to EFT. In the EFT console, we open the event rules section and choose to create a new event rule. We'll name this rule inbound file uploaded test. For the trigger, we're going to select file uploaded. This tells EFT to watch for any file being uploaded by any user through any protocol. This then takes us into the rule builder where we can begin to build our event rule. You'll notice that the file uploaded trigger is at the top of the rule. Every event rule is going to start with some sort of trigger that we have previously described. As we mentioned earlier, we can do something simple like notify someone. To do this, simply double-click on the email action from the left-hand action pane. It will be automatically added to the event rule. Here, we can click on the select hyperlink to configure the email notification. We can type in the email address of the person or group we want to be notified, such as the help desk at acme.com. And in the message window, we can easily customize the message by selecting context variables, such as file name and file size. Then we click OK. Just like that, we've built a real simple event rule that notifies the help desk every time a file gets uploaded to EFT. It's simple and it works, but it's not realistic, as the help desk is going to get a lot of emails on a really busy system. Typically, when you're building rules in EFT, you're going to add conditions to those rules to make decisions on what to do with the files when they're uploaded. So now we'll add some conditions to the rule so it only processes files that meets our requirements. In this example, we want to accept only CSV files under a certain size and optionally matching a particular file naming pattern. We add the first condition from the condition pane on the lower left of the rule builder. Simply double-click on the if file name condition, and it automatically gets added to the rule in the rule builder. Here, again, we can click on the hyperlink path mask to define the file name condition that we're looking for. The file extension must be a .csv. Then we can add a second condition, if file size, and we can set that condition that the file size is less than 50 megabytes. You see how clicking on the blue hyperlink in the condition lets you toggle between the choices, and then we can click on the other hyperlink to actually input the file size. Finally, we can add a file name pattern condition by clicking on the if file name condition again, this time requiring the file name to begin with the word report. These conditions allow EFT to validate inbound files before taking any actions, which helps maintain data quality and prevents incorrect files from entering downstream systems. Now that the conditions are in place, we'll build the next step in this workflow for valid files. If the file meets all conditions, we want EFT to automatically move it to a location in our Ready folder for processing. To do this, we select the protocol upload action from the actions pane in our event rule. Just to make note here, when the file is being uploaded to EFT, we are the server. When we select the protocol upload or protocol download action, we become the client. We can click on the FS path hyperlink to configure this upload flow. As the client, we can now turn around and send that file out using any offload method chosen in the dropdown, such as SFTP, HTTPS, or even a local file or LAN. We can even use connection profiles that we previously configured. In this example, we're going to select local files or LAN, and then we're going to hit next. Here, we're going to leave the predefined fs.path variable provided by the EFT. This variable is the fully qualified path and file name of the file being uploaded. Using the variable allows the rule to work with any files being uploaded. Next, we can select the Delete Source File After It's Offloaded button. This is essentially a move action. And then we can hit Next. Here we can define the destination path and file name. In this example, we're going to use C:/ready, but again, it can be any path that the EFT service account has access to, including UNC paths. We're going to keep the source file name variable so that it keeps the original file name, and if we like, we can tack on a date timestamp by selecting the variable from the choices provided. By default, it's going to overwrite any file in that path, but you can also choose to either skip or enumerate if you don't want to overwrite the file. Now that we've added conditions to the rule so that when a file is uploaded, it meets the conditions of a file with the extension of CSV, the file is less than 50 megabyte, and the file name does begin with the report, the file will automatically get uploaded to the upload action by the upload action to the C:/ready folder, and then we'll notify the help desk. So what happens if this action fails? Next, we'll handle a situation where the upload file does not meet our conditions. For files that fail the conditional validations we provide, we can create an alternate branch using an else condition. Then we can add another protocol action and define it to move the file to a quarantine folder so that it does not interfere with production workflows. After that, we can add another email action and configure a notification email that explains the situation and lists possible reasons the file failed validation. The goal is to make sure the right teams are alerted immediately with enough information to take corrective action. To add this path, we'll add an else condition to our workflow by selecting the else condition from the lower left conditions. Then we add another protocol upload action, again clicking the FS path to select a local copy. Next, delete source file when offloaded. Next, and then place it in the quarantine folder. We can then add an email notification to this workflow. We can provide an email address like helpdesk@atme.com. We can change the subject line to include something like files quarantined. And then in the message body, we can add a message that the file was quarantined because it didn't match one of these conditions. We can use the context variables to show the file extension that should have been a CSV. The file size that should have been less than 50 megabyte. And the file name that should have began with report. This will enable the recipient to look at the email and quickly determine why the file didn't pass the conditions and was quarantined. Even with conditions in place, unexpected issues may occur, such as permission problems or network interruptions. To help with failure troubleshooting, we can configure failed actions under the If Action Failed Then section of the workflow. This section will trigger whenever one of the actions in the rule above fails. Here we can add any actions available on the left, such as previously used email notification. To do this, make sure the If Action Failed Then is highlighted, and again, double-click on the email action to the left to drop it into the rule builder. Again, we can fill out the email as desired to include things like the file name, the path to the file, the step where the error occurred, and detailed error messages returned by EFT. This makes it easier for support teams to diagnose and resolve issues quickly. After the failed action is triggered, EFT will continue to process the next steps in the event rule unless you force it to stop by clicking on the Stop Processing This Rules button. Now that the rule is complete, we can log into EFT as an ordinary user and we can test it with a couple of files. When we upload a file that matches the first set of conditions, being that it has a .csv extension, it's less than 50 megabytes, and it begins with report, we expect to see it moved into the ready folder and receive a success email. If we upload the file that's too large or one with the wrong extension, EFT should place it into the quarantine and send us a failure notification. These tests confirm that our conditions, branches, and notifications are all working as expected. This concludes this video demonstration. In this video, we explained what event rules are, how they work, and then we created an event rule that triggers on file uploaded, validates the file using conditions, routes it appropriately based on those conditions, and sends both failure and success notifications. This pattern is one of the most commonly used and most useful automations in EFT, and it can be easily extended to support encryption, virus scanning, transformation, or multi-step routing logic. Thanks for watching, and feel free to build on this template for your own workflows.